All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We got a laugh to keep from crying. We are T minus 6 hours and change, 6 hours, 53 minutes from a government shutdown. The Trumpster says that the Trumpster he believes that we can get rid of some of the things that we don't need during the government shutdown. Now, what does that mean? How can he impact and how can he screw black people? Hakeem Jeffries on the steps of the Capitol today spitting some venom. He's pissed off. Everybody's pissed off, including my partner in crime, Brock Ganeles. Two men in black and white right here. Let's have an honest conversation, Brock. The shutdown is happening. I'm listening to Madeline Dean right now from Pennsylvania. You know, this call your congressman shit. I mean, what are we going to do that for? There's no spending deal. You know, some vital services are going to shut down. I'm hearing they're going to keep airports and whatnot open, but Brock, what say you?
That's interesting on the airports thing, right? I hadn't seen that, but that's the classic, right? Oh, who flies the most, right? People with money.
Right.
So, okay, we don't want that, which then means mostly white people, right? Comfortable white people. Oh, we don't want them disrupted because that's not a constituency we want to rile because they're sitting on their couch rubbing their belly, not doing shit, letting us get away with all this crap. So, okay, let's not disrupt them. We'll just fuck with everybody else.
Yeah. And that seems to be the goal of this administration, because remember, we're transferring all that wealth come January 1st, you know, to the upper, 6% of Americans in the wealthy Americans. African American wealth is already 1/17th on average of the average white American. Average white American, right? Brock, think about that. 17 times the wealth. I always bring up the Boston Globe article that was done probably 4 or 5 years ago that talked about the net worth of African Americans in Metro Boston was $8.
Dollars, yeah.
$8 fucking. Brock, you can't buy a dozen donuts for $8 fucking.
That was the average, right? And that average probably included like Jason Tatum and Brown and a couple guys in the Celtics, right? And a few Red
Yep.
Sox, added to
Right.
that number. Take those guys out of it, and it probably would have been $2, right?
Right. Or minus dollars.
Or minus. Yeah. In debt. Credit card debt, yeah.
Yeah. So, think about the cost of living now in major urban areas. It is off the charts. Atlanta, the city of Atlanta proper, almost unaffordable. Boston has been unaffordable. New York City, insanely unaffordable. And had Amazon come, imagine what it would have been then. And so, we're talking about people who are living a good life and just don't give a fuck about democracy because their lives are okay. They're okay.
And we got to keep those airports open, right? There's got to be some vacations people want to go on. So,
Absolutely.
okay, so I mean, basically, Trump said doing anything to provide additional health care to the 5 to 15 million that are either going to get kicked off or priced out of their health care, which is a huge number when you think about it, right? Huge chunk of the country that's just going to be uninsured going forward. He views that as something that just can't be done, right, for some reason.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, because he's a moron, right? He can't even conceptualize it, and it doesn't affect him, so he doesn't care. But yeah, they're talking about just slashing and burning other services while the government is shut down, right? That's been the threat. You shut this down, and we're just going to take more and more shit away.
Right.
But like as our frequent guest survey said like 7 months ago, right? We're going to have to burn this shit to the ground before everyone gets riled up. So here we go. This is just going to be another step in the decline of American life and American society and Americans' quality of life and America's life expectancy. All those what we thought were key elements of what the government was working towards improving are all just going to be put in reverse.
Yeah. It's funny, too, because the richest man in the world has one of the most unsafe manufacturing plants for his little SpaceX shit going on down there at city he's trying to build down in Texas. That thing is just, leaking radioactive fluid right into, the Earth's surface and the waterways around
Drinking
there.
water.
Yeah, it's explosions and shit happening left and right. You know, these people with access to the levers of power and control of our government right now, this Republican MAGA fucking nut job party led by a dementia ridden asshole, sorry businessman, has no fucking consideration for the average American, just trying to get by. Because if you weren't born with a silver spoon, right? And you didn't achieve the highest of heights, we don't give a fuck about you. Donald Trump got there because he was born into it. Let's never forget that. He was born into it.
Born into it. But Mark, I'll say this. Today, the Democratic messaging was pretty good. I mean, Gallego was out. He just absolutely ripped Trump today, right? Swalwell was out really strong. So the Republicans are going to go into this shutdown saying that the Democrats are fighting for healthcare for illegal, citizens, illegal aliens, whatever term they use for them in the country. And it's a lie. It's the lie they're trying to go with, but it's not really resonating that well. I think people have kind of started to see through that one with so many ICE raids. It's like, well, who's even left to cover, right? We got them all in fucking concentration camps. So how are we still blaming them for costing us on the healthcare side? I thought we rounded them all up. So it's not even working as a messaging. So if there's a slight silver lining heading into the shutdown, is that the Democrats are doing a decent job, partially because I didn't see Schumer all day today. I think they told him to take the fucking day off and get away from a microphone because he's a disaster. And some of the younger guys, younger men and women who articulate better, who know how to communicate, were out there pitching the message. Maybe that was a fluke. Maybe that was just selective viewing that I saw, but goddamn, we need the younger voices out there, not the old timers game. It's not the old timers game.
No. And that's why I'm watching Madeline Dean. Madeline Dean is one of the best communicators on the Hill. Madeline Dean, I just absolutely adore. I wish she was more prominent in the party and they elevated her. I love her personal story. I love the fact that she is a straight fucking shooter, which is what we need right now. Because Brock, the AP had an article out earlier today talking about, Wall Street yawning at the possibility of a shutdown, but it also mentioned that the White House might push for mass firings. So not only are, government employees going to be without income come tomorrow, right? They may be without employment when this fucking thing is all said and done.
I mean, why do they need a shutdown for that? I mean, they fired so many people through Doji when the government was open. Like, I guess they can do it under cover of night. I mean, the last government statistic we saw today was consumer confidence, and it plummeted again. And it's like, of course consumer confidence is down. The economy is being run by a moron, as you were pointing out yesterday, right? Trump's an idiot as a businessman, so of course the economy is in decline. But we will not see the unemployment numbers, which normally would have come out, I think, on like the 5th of October or something like that. So we won't see those numbers, which also would look bad. Does Wall Street care? I mean, it's a business-friendly government, right? So if you're a business owner, it's still it's working for you till it doesn't, because the tariffs are hurting and the citizenry has less money in their pocket. So maybe Wall Street's yawning now, but they're going to get hit by a 2x4 one of these days because the economy's, we're going to tip into recession because not enough people have money.
Right. Brock, riddle me this. How is the Dow breaking records? How is the S&P breaking records when fucking people are hurting so bad? That tells you who's playing the horses in the stock market, right? It ain't the shrinking middle class. It's
still surprised the market. I'm still surprised the market has done as well as it has. But so far, the corporate earnings haven't showed the decline yet, right? The tariffs haven't really worked their way through as yet. And they're cutting a lot of costs, right? They're cutting people, so their margins have still been pretty good. I mean, to me, it feels unsustainable.
Right.
But there haven't really been signs yet in the numbers to scare off investors. And in most of the investment, the market's also being driven by like 10 or 12 companies right now.
Right.
And they're all tech companies, and it's all about AI and an AI boom. So there's a lot of speculative nature to why the markets are still up. So there's some arguing that we have a little bit of an AI bubble going on,
Right.
but it hasn't burst yet because so much money's being thrown at AI.
Right. Um, again, the people playing the stock market are not the people who are living paycheck to paycheck.
No, it's a small percentage of people that.
The numbers tell us how bad it is for the average American when it comes to credit card debt, student loan debt. Auto payments are now, on average, around 900. I remember when I bought my first house,
I don't know how
my
anyone does it.
mortgage wasn't much more than that. That was in 1995.
I don't know how people do it. So yeah, the economy's tanking. We're going to go into a shutdown. There's going to be cuts of essential services. A lot of people are going to be hurt. We can only hope the media focuses on that part of the story and doesn't chase Trump's next shiny fucking toy that he wants to throw at everyone. Now, we've sort of buried the lead because, yeah, the shutdown's important. But today was arguably one of the worst days in American military history.
Arguably, I can't think of anything else. I mean, even the decision to drop, the bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to be the person that said, yeah, okay, let's do it. But this thing today, I mean, it rivals that. The only difference is the massive loss of life that occurred immediately. We don't know what's going to occur after this meeting.
But the commander-in-chief said that the enemy is within and said that the military needs to, in essence, focus on our urban centers as a place where they could run like military exercises. I mean, get some practice in, apparently, in our cities. But that internal was the biggest enemy of America, right? So he, in essence, declared civil war on me and you and like 180 million other people, right? While Pete Hegseth was out saying, that was Trump's piece of the puzzle, right? While Hegseth is out saying that we no longer really have to play by the international rules of engagement anymore. So that means that's a license to commit war crimes, and we're going to be torturing and the like. So now we're going to just be bombing boats in the Caribbean, and if it's a fisherman, too bad. If it's a drug runner, okay, a little bit better. So those are like such anti-American statements that, I mean, I don't know where we go from here after statements like that. But that's as scary and un-American as statements that I've heard in my entire lifetime.
What's the invasion from within, Brock? What the fuck does that mean? You're going to urban cities? What are you going to go? You're going to target black and brown people to run military exercises, and you're going to waterboard them for what? You're going to waterboard black and brown people for being poor? You're going to waterboard them for trying to make a living, trying to get by because they live in the projects, right? And think about it, Brock. Most of our major cities right now are being so gentrified. They better really be careful and understand where the pockets of black and brown people.
There's going to be a lot of white people swept up in it because I said, like, look, in Portland, they're making up this Antifa boogeyman, right? They got to go in to fight Antifa, which what stands for anti-fascism. It doesn't really even mean anything in American lexicon in terms of, like, no one's in the fucking Tifa. Like, but that, the perception, that's not a black and brown thing though, right? That's like an American, that's a white liberal thing too. That's like a sweeping up, that's really even sweeping additional people into the mix, white people into the mix, who are just contrary to this government, right? That's like really declaring war on even a broader group. But there's no doubt black and brown people will get swept up first.
Right.
And harshest, and without a second thought from this masked ICE crew of Gestapo agents. Right. They'll be a little, probably less aggressive about how they want to go after white people.
Right. And that's where America should stand up and say, fuck no, we're not having this. And I'm not talking about, a coffee and a knish walking down Fifth Avenue. I'm talking about shutting down the whole fucking thing in Washington, D.C. and physically removing these people. They've got to go. Our American system of government and our American lives cannot stand 4 years of these fucking morons. It's impossible.
We'll be such full-blown autocracy by then. I mean, just look at how much has been done in 9 months.
Right.
We really can barely, last the rest of the year. And I'm with you. And I think I told you, I kind of, I was being a keyboard warrior today and kind of went after Politics Girl, who's one of my favorite people online. Right? She's fantastic. But I was like, in my mind, I'm like, I got to deliver some tough love here because she started off with the call your congressman and here's what's going on with the shutdown and this and that. And I'm just like, we're just so far beyond the call your congressman stage of this resistance. Like, where are we going to call them? Like, they're not even in their seats right now. They're going to be on vacation starting tomorrow. They're like, there's only so much they can do. They've been bullied. Right? They don't have any power. All they can do is shut down the government. It's on us as the people. So I just wanted her to start using her platform to start calling to arms, action from the people. We can't just keep saying we have to call our congresspeople.
No, it's not going to fly. Our congresspeople cannot move the needle until they move the people, until they inspire Americans to rise up. Taking a line from the Falcons cry in Atlanta, we got to rise up and be a real resistance, Brock. This is, like you said, we're shortening our lifespans by listening to these fucking morons. And I hate to keep cussing, but I'm furious right now. Having people in my family that are federal employees, it's really frustrating to see that someone can just so cavalierly impact, people's income and people's way of life. It literally makes no sense that these people, because you know what this is about, Brock. It's more about the cruelty and the brutality and the punishment of the lower half of America.
Which ultimately equals power, right? This is entirely a power play that all these Project 2025 guys are so happy that Trump is able to put together these MAGA morons, right? But this coalition of MAGA morons and white supremacists to get minority rule in America and now strip down the country from within. So we can't call our congressmen like they don't have any power. Although every one of them should be using their platform to inspire complacent, comfortable Americans to move into action mode. And that's why I was aggravated with Politics Girl today. Is don't use their platform to inform us about the shutdown. We get it. Trump's a fucking moron. They're looking to take more shit away. Okay. The best we can do is shut down the government. Keeping it open is probably worse. I would argue. Let's shut it down and see what happens. But use your platform to inspire and rile up an opposition and get people out of their houses onto the streets. Talk to people about maybe a national strike. We see we can do it in small doses, right? You can fuck with Target. You can turn around Disney in 48 hours. Right? Well, what happened if we started doing a full-on national strike where we just shut the whole economy down?
Yep.
I bet you Wall Street would notice that.
No doubt.
Right? And the moneyed class would notice that and wonder whether they can really go forward with this fucking mania. Because right now, it's working for them. They're just making more money. So that's how I want people to use their platforms.
It makes sense because the only thing people understand in this day and age is green, the almighty dollar. And until you hurt their pocketbooks, like Disney, like Target, that's the only time you're going to get pressure from the business community on the government. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take us to say, hey, we're not doing anything but buying the essentials. right? Milk, bread, and eggs. We'll eat French toast for the next fucking month if we have to get America to stand up and say, nope, we're not going to take it anymore. You know, we're not going to be bullied by the Fuckerbergs and the fucking, what's your boy over here at Amazon, Jeff Bezos.
Bezos, yeah, and he's got another, you know, Prime has another one of their fucking things. I wish everyone would just, like, no one order at this whole Prime push. Like, just don't fucking order. You don't need that shit. What if we had a holiday season where we were like, we bought like half the shit we usually do. And the message to the family was, you know what, we're just getting the important stuff. And you know what, we're spending less because we're pocketing some money for democracy this year. We're making a statement. We're doing something for our country right now. We're going to spend less on ourselves in a frivolous way.
Right.
We're going to buy less shit because the country is so important to us. And not just be about how much fucking we can consume. God forbid, imagine we had a really slow holiday spending season. Ooh. Fucking corporate America would flip out. The retail industry would tank. Amazon would tank, right? It never, ever happens in this country. You know what? It might happen anyway because consumer confidence is down and people don't have the money.
Right. Right. And that's the bottom line, bro. You know, people don't have the money. People are getting laid off. If the spending slows down, more people are going to get laid off. It's going to be a fucked up holiday season all around. And we have no idea how long this shit show is going to last with the shutdown, right? You think people have 6 weeks, 8 weeks of savings in their savings again? They don't. They don't. All the studies tell. So you know what's going to happen, bro? People are going to start charging shit because they have no choice.
Yeah,
right?
If they can.
Yeah. So people are going to go into debt because Donald Trump doesn't know what the fuck he's doing and doesn't care about us. So why do we care about him? You know, every dollar spent makes his life that much easier, right? Because the corporate GGs around here and fuck nuts, you know, that's the goal, is to get you to spend so they can hit their corporate bonuses, right? Buy, you know, a second or third yacht, right? Maybe invest in a jet. That's the shit they're doing. You know, every recession that these Republicans have been, responsible for, the upper echelon, the upper 5, 3, 2% of Americans have made a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Have made a shit ton of money.
Well, yeah, because we're kind of, we're like now, like, you know, talking heads, right? You know, just like anyone, as we've been told so many times in the comments, any two jokers can just like go live on YouTube, which we've proven. It's a free platform, but
nobody told us we couldn't.
Yeah, but let's start talking, except TikTok, right? TikTok banned us though, except for TikTok. We've only been banned on one platform so far. But because we're talking about action, but this is one thing the politicians can do. The politicians can come out and say, you know what? We're doing what we can. They need to flip the script on the American people and say, you're calling your congressman. Look, we're doing everything we can. We're fighting tooth and nail. We got the message. We're not budging on anything.
Right.
But now you got to do your part. And your part is you need to make yourself seen. You need to get out on the streets. You need to protest in large numbers. You, the people, have to help us by being disruptive.
Right.
By being loud. By delivering the message in person on the streets so that all of America can see how many of us there are that feel this way.
And Brock, this gets back to one of our central themes, right? Making a fucking sacrifice. Who is willing to make the sacrifice? Who's willing to spend less and sacrifice, 34 Barbie dolls Trump said people buy every year? Who's willing to buy 17? Right? Who's willing to get out, take a day off, use one of your vacation days to go to DC and disrupt this fucking shit show, you know, where we got a president posting AI-generated videos with racist rants laced throughout it, where we got a Department of Defense secretary talking about how the military is hamstrung by the woke, you know, philosophy in the military, and he's calling for them. Did you hear that part? He's calling for them to resign. right? If you're not a straight white male, they pretty much want you to resign. I mean, what the fuck is this? What are we talking about here? Right? Pete Buttigieg was an honorable soldier. You know what I mean? I mean, Wes Moore, right? Look at some of the people, John McCain, look at some of the people who have served, right? In a diverse capacity. The young lady who ran for Congress, was it Kentucky, McGrath?
McGrath, yeah.
I mean, look at some of the diverse people.
Tammy Duckworth. I mean, what's her name? Not Duckworth. The other. Oh, God, I forgot her name. She's in the wheelchair.
You got Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey. I mean, it's ridiculous what these people want to turn us into. And these AI-generated fucking videos, he's posted them, so he co-signs on. You own it, buddy. It's your message. And it's flat out fucking racist and ridiculous.
Look, we all just got riled up for the free speech, right? Everyone got riled up for Jimmy Kimmel, and we had like 72 hours of like a lot of activity and economic warfare of people canceling Disney properties and subscriptions enough to where they turned, not out of morals, but out of pure economics, they turned tail and put Kimmel back on the air. And then it eventually pressured even the right-wing fuckers like Sinclair who tried to boycott Kimmel for a night and got worried about their economics and put him back on the air. So we fought really hard for freedom of speech, and I think now we got to move on to fighting really hard for freedom of assembly. And we're going to have a massive rallies on the 18th. And I think we need to start thinking about, that's a Saturday. We got to start thinking about perhaps the 20th.
Friday. Yeah.
The 20th, Monday. That Monday becoming like a national strike day where there's a protest. I want protests where people don't even go home, stay overnight in DC, like a real disruptive weekend of protest. And then, oh, by the way, not everyone goes back to work.
Right.
And have like a national strike on Monday where our economy fucking grinds to a halt.
Yep.
And there's safety in numbers, right? And everybody just fucking calls in sick or no shows and doesn't spend any money. So what if we had a day like that in this country? Because we worship the dollar, right? Like as you said, we worship the dollar more than we worship any deity or anything else. So we need actions like that. And that's where I don't want politics. I don't stop saying call your congressman. I want our congressmen to deliver a call of action to the people, and we got to start doing some shit and inflicting some pain, making some sacrifices to inflict the kind of pain that disrupts America. Because we have to disrupt America because the tracks that America's on need to be derailed.
Brock, you said it perfectly. If we didn't show up for work on the 20th, think about all the revenue lost from commuter costs, right? Those people who ride, the train, the bus, into work. Imagine, if even 60% of us didn't go to work, right? The impact, the tolls, right? How much money is spent on tolls every morning in the HOV lane, in the fast pass lane, right? How much money is spent on lunches? Right? Where people pop out of the office, pop into the deli next door, pop in, to the Subway, pop into the Chipotle, right? How much money, right, would be lost if we all said, fuck it.
What if everyone just shopped local? So you don't go to Chipotle, you don't go to McDonald's. You find like the local deli or restaurant. Like you take the time to figure out what you're going to do in advance because it's important enough to do. Right. And you only spend local. And you literally shun, corporate America, right? No Burger King, no McDonald's. And I get it. It's hard for some people. This is not. So you're going to have to plan it out and strategize it. And just no show, except for maybe emergency services. And let's send the message like, hey, Donald Trump, fuck you. Like we're not going to be gerbils on the wheel in your fucking little world here. Not pawns today. We're not pawns on your little board, right?
No.
He probably wouldn't notice because he'd be out golfing, right? Someone would have to tell him. But you know what? His donors would notice.
Yeah, they would. Yeah, they would.
And they'd be
And
worried about it happening again, right?
and his approval level is going to be what? Below 30%. If this shutdown drags on, you know, and we message properly with the Democratic Party and let people know this is all on this fucking moron, he's already at what, 38%, 37%? He's got to get down below the 30. I mean, he's already at the all-time worst. So, let's push this thing, bro. But we're out of time. Quick hit. What do you got for me?
God. The other guy I was just aggravated with, my congressman, Pat Ryan. He's mine, like NY19, whatever I'm in, right?
Right.
He posts today because of the Hegseth and the Trump thing. And his first line is like, oh, I don't do many of these videos. Right. And then he gave like a 2-minute thing. And as I was hearing it, I was like, well, why the fuck don't you do more of these videos? Right. We're in the age of communication. You're the congressman for hundreds of thousands of people here. Why aren't you spending a chunk of your time communicating? Like, that is the job, is to speak to us, the constituents, and in this day and age, frequently inspire us, educate us, show us that you're out there fighting for you. Now I want them to segue to, push us to get out there and protest, push us to make more noise as citizens. So I'm like, what? He doesn't like to be on camera? Like, you're in the wrong job then, if it's too much for you to do some videos that you post online. It's the job.
Right. That's it. My quick hit for today. We talked about Decorum yesterday. Did you see University of Colorado fined $50K for the derogatory and just disgusting chants of the Colorado University students directed at the BYU fans and players? Just fucking. Wow. Deion Sanders is out apologizing. But again, like your famous quote, Donald Trump has given you permission to be the worst version of yourself. And we're seeing it everywhere. Here's a college campus, right? Coach Sanders said this is not indicative of who we are. Well, then who's it indicative of?
Absolutely indicative of exactly who we are.
What the fuck are you talking about? This is what we do. We're disgusting human beings right
especially
now.
Especially.
Yes. Yeah. The power in number. Yep. Hateful and discriminatory language was what was cited by the Big 12 conference. So good, fine him $50K, it doesn't help anything, but give the money to the Church of Latter-day Saints or, one of the churches affiliated with the university there. $50K will go a long way on a mission trip for some of those players on the football team. You know what I mean? Fuck it. There's got to be. It just
comes down to, like, why? Like, why are you doing that? What are you getting out of that? Like, what? It's just a big why. To make other people feel like shit. You want to feel a little bit superior to them. You want to punch down at them in some way, shape, or form. Because you've invited them to come to your state and your school and your stadium to have a competitive football game that's like biggest thing going on campus, the biggest party, the biggest event on campus. Yep. And that's how you're going to choose to use that time, is to
on national TV.
Racist.
On national TV, where you're bringing in millions of dollars. And Brock, you lost a football game. Fucking get a grip on yourself. It's not the end of the world. That ain't the first one you lost this year.
Yeah. It's always been there in sports, but everything is heightened in the Trump era because of the license to act like an asshole, because the leadership acts like an asshole.
Brock, especially when you have numbers. Have you noticed that? The only people acting out by themselves are the mass shooters. The people with big guns and big magazines. Right? Everybody else is taking the opportunity to punch down when they've got numbers on their side.
All right.
In straight cowardice, bro. That's what we got, baby. All right, man. Good stuff.
All right. Always a pleasure, Mark. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Peace.